Okay, right. Welcome to the Engineering Foundation Year. As I said, I will talk to you a little bit about the program and the criteria. But first of all, what is the aim of the Foundation Year? So the aim of the Foundation Year is to enable students whose grades have been affected by personal circumstances and therefore would have not been normally eligible to come to UCL to come to us and study engineering in the engineering faculty. We are based at UCL East, the new campus of UCL. We are currently in the building that you see in the image here at Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park. And the area has, of course, UCL facilities, but also all the facilities of the Olympic Park and the surrounding area. There are other universities in the area and also various cultural places and sports facilities. So it is a very new part of London. It's our building is brand new, and we've only just moved here. I have to say that we're not the only program taught program at UCL. There are others taking place in the same building, in the same campus. Now, a little bit about the program. So we started this September, and it was quite a popular program. We had nearly 1,500 applications for the first year, and we ended up with 20 students. So next year we will be admitting more, and the intention is that eventually we will have 50 students on the program. The tuition fees are 6,000. That's just for the year. So the program is integrated. That means that you do the foundation year and then you continue to the degree of your choice in the Faculty of Engineering. So once you continue to the first year of your degree study, then the tuition fees will be the usual fees, which are about 9,500. This year, all students received a bursary that covered their tuition fees and a little bit more. Some students received full scholarships, but that, depended on their circumstances. We have a small number of full scholarships that are specifically earmarked for UCL students, but we also have bursaries for everyone. I cannot promise that it will be the same amount next year because it varies. It is funded by donations, but we hope we will be able to support all students. I already mentioned that you register for one of the engineering programs, one of the programs in the Faculty of Engineering. Here's a list of the participating programs. The newest ones are the ones at the bottom. So the BSc Science and Engineering for Social Change and the MEng in Robotics and Artificial Intelligence. These are new for 2024 entry. This list might expand in years to come, but that's what it is at the moment. And as I said, when you apply for one of these programs. You don't apply for the foundation year as a separate year. The assumption is that once you complete the foundation year, then you transition to your first year of the program. So who is this program for? Anyone who is classed as a home student. And as I said, that includes UK residents, refugees, and so on. We have certain criteria, both academic and non-academic eligibility criteria. And we're looking for people who have been educated at a UK state school. We're also open to mature students. A mature student is anyone who will be over 21 at the day the course starts. And if you are shortlisted, then you will be invited to an assessment center. And we hold those in the winter between January and March. And then offers are sent out towards the end of April, beginning of May. Now, the academic criteria, as you can see here, the academic criteria are quite varied. We're looking for a GCSE 5 in maths and English. This is something that you must have in order to apply for the program. And then after that, you need 100 UCAS points in any subject, and it has to be from 3A levels or an equivalent qualification or a combination of qualifications. We are accepting access to higher education, if it's access to engineering, even better. We're accepting BTECs, T-levels, IB, and of course A levels, and any other combination of qualification, as long as it is up to 100 UCAS points. Okay, and we've got some criteria that are socioeconomic, have to do with personal circumstances. There are various categories, but indicative. Some of them are things such as young people who are care experienced, people who are carers, people who had a gap in their education of a year or more. And that does not refer to a gap year where you go on holiday, but a gap because of personal circumstances. People who are eligible for free school meals. We also look at postcode eligibility. And to do that, we use various measures such as the ACORN, Polar, IMD, and so on. On our website, you will be able to find full definitions, and also we have a widget where you can check your own eligibility. But if you have any concerns about your eligibility, please get in touch with us on our email, and we can we can check and let you know. However, final eligibility is decided by the admissions office at UCL, who will need to see documentation. You don't need to submit any documentation with your application, but if they need to see any additional information, they will get in touch with you and tell you what they want to see. So generally, the content of the program is the equivalent of a year at university, the equivalent of 120 credit points. The reason I say equivalent is because in reality, it doesn't carry any points, but it is designed to be similar to 1 year at university. It consists of 3 modules. One of them is the design project, where we do various projects through the year. And this is a mini version of the integrated engineering program at UCL. The integrated engineering program is the way UCL teaches engineering in the first and second year. And I'm sure Maurice can talk more about that later on. We also have a module that helps you with your academic skills, so things such as writing and so on. And of course, a module in mathematics and physics combined. Now, the minimum grade requirement in order to be able to continue is 60%. So you need to get a 60% in every module in order to be able to transfer to the first year. Our teaching methods follow all the other teaching methods at UCL. So we have a lot of group work. I already mentioned projects. There's a lot of projects that we do throughout the year. We do workshops, we do other activities. So essentially it's all modern teaching methods as they apply at UCL. And our assessment is also varied. 2 of the modules have a portfolio assessment. That means that throughout the year you need to submit various pieces of work, which can be presentations, they can be videos, they can be essays, and so on. Some of them may be peer graded, so your fellow students will grade you. And then we have one final exam in mathematics, and we have some tests throughout the year. So that's how assessment works on this program. In addition to that, we also offer, our intention is to offer a variety of support, which is, some of it is already available to all UCL students, and some of it is specifically for foundation students. So we offer support with transition by having various welcoming activities from the moment you are offered a place at UCL and beyond that. So we have mentors and so on. We have the academic support that you would expect. You have a personal tutor and also some support specialists and some other services that can help you with your performance during the year. I have already discussed financial support, but as I said, there are bursaries and there is also other help available at UCL. And we also offer mentoring, so you get a mentor who is another student who we hope in the future will be students that have done the foundation year. Since this is the first year of the program, we don't have that this year. So our mentors are people who are already studying engineering at UCL but have not studied in the foundation year. And you get a personal tutor who is looking after your academic and your pastoral care. So if you have any problems, you go to your personal tutor. Our careers center is available to all, and this is especially useful in the future if, for example, someone decides that they don't want to continue at UCL. They are happy that they did the foundation year, but they don't think that university is for them, then UCL Careers can help with advice on how to look for a job. Or alternatively, if you decide that you want to continue at another university, we can help you find that as well. At the moment, we don't have any specific agreements with other universities for them to accept our foundation year, but we are negotiating and we hope to have that in place in the future. Now, I've got here a little diagram of what happens when you apply. So applications are through UCAS, and only through UCAS. You need to apply following the January deadline. So at the moment, applications are open. The application then goes to our admissions office that checks your eligibility. Once your eligibility has been checked and against the criteria, then you are shortlisted and you go through another process where you will be invited to an assessment activity. The assessment center that we run is on Saturdays and weekday evenings between January and March, as I already said, and you don't need to have any specific knowledge. When you come to the assessment center, you will be given an open-ended exercise, an open-ended problem, and you will be asked to work as a group and find a solution to the problem and present it to us. You might also be asked to do a written reflection or some other written exercise. And again, for that, you don't need any specific knowledge. We will not be testing maths or physics or anything like that. So there's nothing to prepare. We will, of course, explain on the day what we're looking for and so on. After that, there's another selection and you get an offer letter. And then shortly after that, students are notified to apply for our bursaries. So this is the journey of your application, as I said, and I would recommend that if you're thinking about applying, if you have any questions, get in touch with us, but do apply before the UCAS deadline. We do not accept students that have not been to the assessment center. So for that reason, we don't participate in clearing and we don't accept late applications or applications over the summer. Now, I've already mentioned the application and I'll give you a couple of tips. So as I said, there are various degrees with integrated foundation year. You can find those on UCAS, but the foundation year is common to all of those degrees. So you only need to apply to one of them. So only apply for the foundation program that you want to apply for. Don't assume that if you apply for more than one, you increase your chances. You don't, you're just using up one of your selections. If you are in doubt, please do check your eligibility before you apply. And if you have any questions, get in touch. Now, another thing that you need to watch out for is that if you have good grades, so if you would have been able, if you're able to apply directly for the program of your study, and that means either through the ordinary application process or the reduced entry, which is the Access UCL scheme, then we will not consider your application. We will forward your application to the direct entry route. We will only consider applications from people who do not have the predicted grades for the degree. The application, as I said, has to be through UCAS. And if you have any questions, you should email us. We will be able to answer questions. I mentioned already that for certain categories of applicants, such as care experienced, we will consider independent schools. Uh, if you have qualifications from outside of the UK, and that usually applies to mature students who may have settled in the UK at a later age, or refugees and so on, then in that case, you need to get in touch with us before you apply so that we can tell you if your qualifications are acceptable for application. Now, in addition to these, you also need to write a statement, obviously in your UCAS form, and you also need to tick some boxes. So the UCAS application this year has more boxes, more categories, where you declare various personal circumstances. I know that some applicants believe that if they tick the box, then that will disadvantage them, but that's not the case. So don't feel embarrassed. It is in your interest, and not just for UCL, but for all the universities that you're applying. The other thing is, if your referees will most likely be your school teachers, please try and convince them to mention any special circumstances that they may be aware of, or that you tell them. If we get more information about you, it will be better for your application. Now, in your personal statement, again, we would like to see why you want to study engineering. Maybe what you would like to do with your degree. And if you want to address the foundation specifically, I know that some people might not want to because they may be applying for other degrees. Then, if you want to, you can explain how you think the foundation year would be suitable for you and how it will help you realize your aspirations. We receive a lot of applications that have near identical statements and reference letters, and that makes selection very difficult. In general, we prefer to see a more personalized application, one that actually describes you. So avoid any generalizations and so on. Make it a little bit more personal. And I would say, devote some time to your personal statement and make sure that your school gives you a reference that, again, describes your circumstances, or at least gives some information about the school or the students that study at your school and so on. Again, don't be embarrassed about that. That's what will work in your favor. Now, if you have any questions, of course, you can ask us now, and you can also email us. Our mailbox is efy@uclacuk. But, and as I said, we answer all emails, and we can look at various qualifications or eligibility criteria and give you an idea of whether it's worth applying or not. Now, that is the end of the formal presentation. I would now like to invite Maurice to talk a little bit about engineering at UCL in general.
Can you guys all hear me? I think.
Yep.
Okay, sweet. I joined 2 years ago. I'm currently in my third year. And I study mechanical engineering. So, my experience with mechanical engineering, it's a very, very rewarding subject, definitely. I think everyone has like the misconception that you need to be like amazing to be an engineer. Like you need to do further maths, you need to do all of these crazy things in A level. Some people do, yes, but the majority of people in my courses, I mean, everyone is just regular people. They're like me and you. Like we're not really that different from that age. Like definitely UCL, being one of like the top universities, we are very, very academic. Like in terms of maths requirements, we teach from our first year modules. It's like from ground up, and then obviously if you've done more, it helps, but you have no requirement to do any more. And teachers here they will help you throughout the whole process. Yeah, with UCL, we have like some of the best academics in the country. So the teachers here really helped me sort of like understand a lot more because I was never really that good at maths. Um, and like being here really gave me sort of a lot more confidence to work and solve real world problems. In terms of I know loads of people ask, do you need to know programming? Personally, I can't even program right now, so you don't need to code. And any programming that you need will be taught by the teachers. In terms of like a work-life balance, I would definitely say UCL and London has one of the most like intercultural, like cross-cultural, multicultural experiences. When you're here, you'll meet people from all over the world. Like London is just such a vibrant city that it's like an endless amount of explorations that you can do. And if you guys are into like music, into clubbing, yeah, like everything's in London.
By the way, Maurice, this year you're not in London, though. Would you like to talk about that?
Yeah, so currently I'm in Switzerland at the moment. I'm doing a year abroad in ETH Zurich. And the year abroad option is also available to everyone on the engineering courses and other courses in UCL. You basically apply in your second year and do a year abroad placement in your third year. And in universities, you have university from America, you can go to Cornell, you can go to California. Personally, I chose Europe, but I think there is about 20 different universities from all over the world, and it's part of your bachelor's program. So you do your third year in the host university instead of UCL, and then you come back to UCL to do masters. But the prerequisite is if you do that, you have to be on the master's course. But that's all after like transitioning into first year, and you can change from masters to bachelor's anytime you want.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
I suppose we can go into the questions now. I'm just looking at the Q&A, and I see that a very common question is the A-level subjects. As I said, for the foundation year, we are not looking at specific A-levels. So we're not looking for physics, we're not looking for mathematics. Obviously, if you have done them and if you have good grades in them, you will be at a slight advantage. But we are examining all applications more or less equally. For the other criteria, like, for example, the eligibility criteria, there are two categories of criteria. You can find the breakdown on our website. So from one category, like a mature student, for example, or a refugee or a care experience student, then you only need to fulfill one criterion. For the rest, you need two. So it's slightly, again, if you had looked at our website last year, we have a slight change in our criteria. Don't assume that it is the same. Go to our website, read all the criteria. You can also, as I said, use our widget there and check if you're eligible. But again, if you have any questions about your eligibility, do get in touch with us. And obviously, yes, the foundation year is for people who don't meet the eligibility requirements for the first year of the program. I think there is a question here that's probably better answered by Maurice. It says, is the mechanical engineering, well, foundation year, but I think mechanical engineering in general, if it's heavily physics-based? For the foundation year, no. To begin with, there's no mechanical engineering foundation year. It's the same foundation year across all the programs. We have maths and physics. So it is one of the modules. It is a combined maths and physics module. So yes, we do have some physics. We also have labs, experiments that you do in physics. For the rest, though, for the rest of the degree, maybe Maurice can answer better than me.
Yeah, so great question. In terms of once you progress on into the bachelor's program, the physics, there is quite a lot of physics. being a very theoretical course. Modules we do include thermodynamics, fluid mechanics, solid body analysis, which all includes a lot of physics. However, everything the professors will teach you from the grounds up. Subjects like fluid dynamics, nobody would have done in secondary school. So everyone on the course is very new to this. And the professors do a very good job of teaching you guys the theories and the fundamentals from the ground up.
Great, thanks, Maurice. Now, someone is asking how the year is, how the terms are. So the year at UCL consists of 3 terms. Currently, we're on our first term. So the first one is in the autumn. The second one is January to Easter. And the third one is for the foundation year. It's a very short one. It's about 6 weeks. So it's much shorter than the other 2. The 2 modules, mathematics and physics, and the academic skills run for the first 2 terms. The projects module runs for the first 2 terms concurrently, and then in the third term, you are expected to do an individual project that is related to your interests and hopefully to the degree that you will be progressing to. And it's a longer project. You need to write a slightly longer report for that one. So that's how it works. Now, during the week, we teach over 2.5 days. Next year, these days will be spread throughout the week, or we might try something slightly different. At the moment, we teach Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, but next year we will be teaching maybe Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. We haven't decided yet. We still have some time to go. But yeah, it will be different than what it is this year. But it also means that there will be time if you have a job, say on the weekends, you will be able to do it. And hopefully you will be devoting your days off revising and catching up with the courses. So that's how the year plays out. Now, I'm looking at another question. Is there an estimated yearly intake? Yes, as I said, for next year, it's going to be 40 students. In the assessment centers, we can see about 150 to 200 students. This is an issue of capacity. So if you get shortlisted and invited to an assessment center, this year, as I said, we will be admitting about 40 students out of the 150 to 200 students that will be invited to the assessment center. Now, if for any reason, so again, you don't need to have specific topics, because I can see there's a lot more people asking about the A-level physics. That seems to concern a lot of people. No, you don't need an A-level in physics. Now, if you have overseas qualifications, because I can see here there's a question about overseas qualifications, you need to get in touch with us. Again, you have to be UK based, because this is for people who are UK based, but you need to get in touch with us, and they have to be similar to the qualifications that we're asking for from UK students. So you need to have a GCSE maths at 5. We're also looking for English, but if you didn't go to school in the UK, you might be asked to take an English language test instead of a GCSE in English. And again, we're looking for the equivalent of A levels at around the 100 UCAS points. Another thing that I forgot to mention is that if you're already at university, so if you're studying a foundation year elsewhere, yes, you can apply if you want to, if you feel that it would be better at UCL, but generally speaking, you cannot transfer your foundation year to UCL. So essentially, UCL does not accept foundation years from other universities. And you can, if you are already doing a foundation year somewhere else, you cannot transfer. You still have to go through the application process, come to the assessment center, and so on. Additionally, if you are now studying at university, or if you have studied in the past at university, and you're thinking of coming to UCL maybe to continue your education and so on, we will only accept applications from people who have only studied for 1 year at university, not more than 1 year. So that means that if you have the equivalent of an H&D and so on, then this program is not for you. Our aim is to help people who are at school at the moment come to university, or mature students who didn't have a chance to go to university at all. So as I said, if you have been to university for 1 year, we will consider your application. If you have been to university for more than 1 year, then I'm afraid you can't apply.
Did you answer the question about engineering societies? Because I think that might be a good one for Morris. It says, are there any engineering societies involved in projects that students can join and participate in?
Perfect. Yeah, definitely. So personally, I'm part of 2 teams. I am part of Formula Student, which is where we build we build about Formula One cars, and we have students who are racing drivers, and we race them against other schools in the UK on Silverstone track. And then if we do well in that, then we go to like international competition where you can go to America, bring your car, and you race other teams. It's a project where we build everything from the aerodynamics of the car to the powertrains to all the steering. The engines we buy from Honda, but everything else, including electronics and sensors, that's all student projects. So if you're into Formula One or cars, it's an amazing project. We also have 3 other teams. So we have UCL Rocket, where we build 3-meter high rockets, and they are currently solid fuel motors. So it's very standard, like the Saturn V rockets, but it's transitioning into liquid propelled. So we'll have a liquid oxidizer mixed with fuel, and it's a very cool project where you get to work on real size rocket engines. And also there's UAS, so it's an unmanned aerial vehicle competition where teams design and build drones. And the final one is Rover, which is building a Mars rover. It's an exploration rover, and it's basic curiosity, but completely student based, and there's competitions for all of that. But if you guys have like interest in specific subjects, maybe automation, maybe robotics, we're always open for students to start their own competition, start their own team. These are all student-led, with professors maybe giving 10% help in case student needs, but it's a very student-based project. You meet up outside your own times, on weekends. Also with UCL, we have a really cool space called Mech Space. So it's a workshop where it's open on weekdays, and you can go in. It's like a free student area. Anyone can go. And this workshop, there's 3D printers, there's CNC machines, and you can all use them for free, including materials. And you can work on your own projects. You can build whatever you want, or you can work on racing team projects. So that's probably like, there are probably more in terms of engineering society, as you're saying. We do have a UCL Engineering Society in itself. So that one is more responsible for doing sort of fun days out. We have lots of pub crawls. We have like go-karting, we have paintballing, but that's just all extracurricular stuff that we do. And one more thing which I really, really like about UCL, which is really unique to UCL, is the number of clubs here. So we have a lot of sports clubs, we have a lot of arts clubs, and so this is really a society for you to join. So there's manga society, there's like climbing, there's rugby, there's running, there's like artificial intelligence. There's just about society for anything you can think of. So you'll really feel part of a community here.
Great, thank you, Morris. Now, a couple of more questions. If you're a mature student with qualifications from some years ago, we still take them into account. So yes, you can still apply. We also take into account work experience and so on. This year, we have mature students aged from 21 to 49. So we have people who have work experience in the topic that they want to study, in the area that they want to study. For example, we have someone in computer science who has worked without a degree in computer science, self-taught, a person who has worked in computer science before, and so on. And that obviously, as I said, is examined on a case-by-case basis. Another question that I see here again is about the personal statement. Well, as I said before, make it as personal as you can. You don't have to specifically mention the foundation year. Obviously, if you do, it will be in your favor. But as I said, some students apply to foundation years and they also apply for direct entry at other universities. So you might not want to discuss the foundation year because it might look out of place for another university. You don't need to mention all types of engineering in your application, only the degree that you want to study. So if you want to study chemical engineering, for example, you can discuss chemical engineering in your application.
Can I make one more remark? This is probably the most important thing in your application because this is the only thing that UCL can see that differentiates you from the people. So in my experience, really think of anything that shows that you've done research into UCL, so that it's not just a generic application that you got off ChatGPT for like other universities. So for example, you can say, from today, I'm interested in Formula One, and I heard that there's a Formula student team in UCL. I hope to join that team through the foundation program. Also, if you're interested in a specific subject, you can say, I've done some research on one of the professors and I've seen some of his publications, and this is a field that interests me and it's something that I want to pursue further. Like it just shows that first of all, like you care about the application, you care about being part of UCL, and also you understand what UCL has to offer and why it's right for you. It's also important to talk about your hobbies and stuff. So you can say, if you like skating, we have a UCL Skate Society, we have a skate park. You can just mention anything that's really sets you apart from other applicants and also shows a bit of your personality. So it is not a very mundane, very monotonic application. It's really who you are on a piece of paper.
That's definitely important. And of course, as I said, if your personal circumstances have affected your education, do mention it in your personal statement, because for the foundation year, that is going to be crucial as well. You also tick the boxes on the UCAS form, but again, the more information you give us about yourself and what you want to do, the better it will be. And another question, I think, is about if you have any questions about specific qualifications, then it is best to get in touch with us, email us, and we, with all the information about your qualification, and we will be able to give you an idea of whether it is acceptable or not. Now, there's also a question about the extended project. Normally, we said we don't take into account the extended project, but this year we decided to take it in the end because 3 Cs is 96 UCAS points, I think, and we said we want 100. So we take into account any additional work that would get you to 100 UCAS points. So yeah, in theory, yes, if you are doing something like that, then yeah, definitely we will consider it. But the most important thing is the main qualification. Okay. Now, I don't see any other questions. I don't know, Kate, if you can see any.
There is one. Are students able to progress into an engineering field of choice after the engineering foundation year?
Yes, how that works is that you declare what you want to study when you apply through UCAS. It is not, well, it is possible to transfer during the year, but it is not guaranteed. That depends on, you follow the usual transfer process at UCL, and it will depend on the department whether they will accept it or not. Generally speaking, it is not easy to transfer. So only apply for the for the program that interests you. So if you want to study mechanical engineering with foundation year, apply for that. If you apply for something else and you then change your mind, as I said, it might be possible to do so, but it will depend on various other factors, so it's not guaranteed. Okay. I think that's more or less all the questions we've had so far. If you have any other questions, you can always email us, email efy@uclacuk, and said you will get a quick reply. It is best to email us, explain what you want to study and what your qualifications are. We do get a lot of emails with queries that are not very specific, and then we have to get back to you and ask you more questions. So in order to save us some time and save your time as well, if you email us, please tell us as much as you can about yourself and your qualifications and the degree that you want to study at UCL, and we will then be able to help you better. So thank you very much for coming. Morris, is there any last words that you would like to say?
Yeah, no, not really. Just everyone, apply. If you don't apply, you don't get a chance. Yeah, best of luck to everyone, and yeah, I hopefully see you guys next year.
Great. Thank you very much, and thank you for coming.